It's time for Grandpa's story time tonight. What's your story, Papa?
Santa Claus's helpers. One Christmas Eve, when his reindeer had leaped to the top of a new building, Santa Claus was surprised to find that the chimney had been built much smaller than usual. But he had no time to think about it just then, so he drew in his breath and made himself as small as possible and slid down the chimney. I ought to be at the bottom by this time, he thought, as he continued to slip downwards, but no fireplace of any sort meant Santa Claus, you. And by, he reached the very end of the chimney, which was in the cellar. This is odd, he reflected, much puzzled by the experience. If there is no fireplace, what on earth is the chimney good for? Then he began to climb out again and found it hard to work, the space being so small. And on Santa Claus, way up, he noticed the thin, round pipe sticking through the side of the chimney. But he could not guess what it was for. Finally, he reached the roof and said to the reindeer, "There was no need for my going down that chimney, for I could find no fireplace through which to enter the house. I fear the children who live there must go without playthings this Christmas." Santa Claus had not then discovered that stoves had been invented and were fast coming into use. The following year, Santa Claus found more and more of the new-fashioned chimneys that had no fireplaces, and the next year still more. The third year, so numerous had the narrow chimneys become, he even had a few toys left in his sled that he was unable to give away because he could not get to the children. The matter had now become so serious that it worried the good man greatly, and he decided to talk it over with Kilter, Peter, Nutter, and Whisk. Kilter already knew something about it. It had been his duty to run around to all the houses just before Christmas and gather up the notes and the letters to Santa Claus that the children had written, telling him that they wished to be put in their stockings or hung on their Christmas trees. "Well," declared the laughing Whisk, we must abandon any thought of using these new-fashioned chimneys, but become burglars and break into the house some other way." "What way?" asked Santa Claus. "Why, walls of brick and wood and plaster, or nothing to fairies," said Whisk. "I can easily pass through them whenever I wish, and so can Peter and Nutter and Kilter. Is it not so, comrades? I often pass through the walls when I gather up the letters," said Kilter. "Therefore," continued the fairies, "you may as well take us with you on your next journey. And when we come to one of those houses with the stoves instead of fireplaces, we will distribute the toys to the children without the need of using the chimney." That seems to me a good plan," replied Santa Claus. Well pleased at having solved the problem, we will try it next year." That was how the four helpers all rode in the sled with their master the following Christmas Eve, and they had no trouble at all in entering the new-fashioned houses and leaving the toys for the children that lived in them. Then altogether the trip was a great success, and to this day the four little helpers always accompany Santa Claus on his yearly ride and help him to distribute their gifts. And Santa Claus soon found that parents were really anxious he should visit their houses on Christmas Eve and leave presents for their children. So, to lighten his task, which was fast becoming very difficult indeed, even, even with his 4 helpers, Santa Claus decided to ask the parents to assist him. "Get your Christmas trees all ready for my coming," he said to them, "and then I shall be able to leave the presents without loss of time, and you can put them on the trees when I am gone." And to others he said, "See that the children's stockings are hung up in the readiness for my coming, and then I can fill them as quickly as a wink." And often, when parents were kind and good-natured, Santa Claus would simply Santa Claus would often fling down his pack of gifts and leave the fathers and mothers to fill the stockings after he had darted away in his sled. I did make all loving parents my deputies," cried the jolly old elf, "and they shall help me do my work, for in this way I shall have many precious minutes, and no children need to be neglected for lack of time to visit them." Besides carrying around a big pack in his swift-flying sled, Santa Claus began to send great heaps of toys to the toy shops, so that if parents wanted larger supplies for their children, they could easily get them. And if any children were by chance missed by Santa Claus on his yearly rounds, they would go to the toy shops and get enough to make them happy and contented. Perhaps you will now understand how, in spite of the size of the world, Santa Claus is able to supply all the children with beautiful gifts. To be sure, the old gentleman is rarely seen these days, but it is not because he tries to keep out of sight, I assure you. You see, he is so busy all year making toys and so hurried on that one night when he visits our homes with his packs. He comes and goes among us like a flash. It's almost impossible to catch a glimpse of him. And although there are millions more children in the world than there used to be, Santa has never been known to complain of their increasing numbers. "The more the merrier," he cries with a jolly laugh. "The only difference is that his little workmen have to make their busy fingers fly faster every year to satisfy all. In all this world there is nothing so beautiful as a happy child," says good old Santa Claus. "And if he had his way, the children would all be beautiful, for all would be happy." The end.
Thank you, Papa. Good night, everyone. Oh, look, we have a few Christmas houses that have come. Miles and Owen and Shelley have brought theirs, and Bryce's family has brought his. Good night.